Yeah, welcome back to the hot seat.
Yeah, been a minute. Good to see y'all.
Yes, sir. We will jump right in. Andrew Jones, go ahead.
Hey, Brian, it's good to see you again. You have a new offensive line coach. Coach Picknell, I guess, has been there for 3 practices, so it's a small sample size. But what are some of the differences that you see in him, and what are some of the things that you like about his approach?
Yeah, so, obviously Coach Picknell coming in, he's a seasoned veteran in the coaching game. He's won a Super Bowl in the NFL and coached a lot of years in the NFL. I'd say the approach he brings is one that's very professional, especially now that he's just here and we get first impressions with everyone. He's given everyone, even the young guys, an opportunity to treat themselves like grown men and treat themselves like professionals. And I think it's good. It's what we need right now. And it's one of those things where if people are acting up and not being professionals, then we got issues otherwise, the stuff that he shouldn't even have to deal with. But, he brings a lot to the team. He brings a lot to the O-line. He's big focused on, player-led accountability, but also big focus on, focusing on the details that matter. He's a technician. He's not one that's going to sit there and, yell at you super bad on the first day for missing a step a little bit, but he's going to focus on the important techniques. And he's really good, and he cares about what matters, and I'm excited to play for him.
Mac has been pretty open talking about the need to improve the pass protection. You guys, I think it was 49 or 50 sacks last year. Is there a fine line between doing something a little bit better that would make a world of difference, or are there a lot of things that you guys need to fix? And it's not just you up front. I know that he said, play calling, maybe some receivers, there was a lot of things that went into it, but from the offensive line specifically, what do you guys need to fix to improve in that department?
Accountability. And, when it comes down to that, sure, there's a lot of factors, we can talk about, if is the play an RPO, is it something else that's going to add to our sack numbers? But at the end of the day, over 40 sacks is absurd. And that's something that shouldn't even be accounted for. And as the O-line, no matter what it has to be, we have to take accountability for that and, keep moving forward. And, I really enjoy working with Coach Bicknell and some of his philosophies on the way he teaches, making the pocket bigger and different techniques he teaches to make sure that, we give the quarterback as much time, as much room as he needs to get that ball out.
If I could ask a third question, he talked about the importance of hands, because I asked him the other day about balance and footwork, but he threw in hands as well. Is there maybe a little more emphasis on that, or can you kind of take us through some of the things he's mandating with respect to pass protection?
Yeah, there's a lot on hands, especially at the tackle position too. He's big focused on near points. So one thing we're trying to do is in the interior 3, really set the depth of the pocket, not try to set as deep so that way it's a little firm, and then at the tackle position, widen out the DNs a little bit if we can, focus on the small little points to aim at to get those inside hands and make sure that we're really firm in the pocket and keep it protected.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Greg Barnes, go ahead.
Hey, Brian, you mentioned Bicknell as a technician, and that's actually what we've heard kind of behind the scenes as well. You've worked for a couple different offensive line coaches. What is he different in terms of approaching the details?
It's a good question. I mean, I've loved all my O-line coaches, excuse me. Searles and I were actually very close. It was tough to see him go, but I think the thing that makes him different is just that he's coming in a situation where, we had 2 good years and then had a little off year. And, last year was production-wise just not good. So I think what he brings to the table really is just an aspect of blind faith that the O-line has to buy in and come to him. And, obviously we lost guys like Marcus and Easy last year. And, on the whole offense, we have names that are going to be popping up that you've never seen before because we lost a lot of big names. And a lot of guys are going to be very surprising this year. But the biggest thing for Coach Bicknell is we have a lot of guys that are just buying in. We got a lot of competition on the O-line. We got a lot of people that are willing to buy in, and it's great. And it's a really good group of guys right now from what I'm seeing.
And there's always a lot of movement in college football, whether it be coaches or players jumping in the portal. Pretty rare to have a coach leave the day before spring practice and somebody else come in a couple of days later. How has that been for the players up front trying to get adjusted to the changes so quickly?
Sure. It's been interesting, obviously, just as far as having a new coach come in right before spring ball, it's sometimes a little challenging. He has to learn some of our terminology. We have to learn some of his terminology. So in terms of transitioning verbiage between the two, between players and coach, that's something that's a little tough, but we're already picking up on. And then also just like I said, an aspect of blind faith, an aspect of blind faith where we have to put our trust in him. You know, he sometimes doesn't even know all the names yet. He's getting to know them, but when we're watching film and stuff, it's just a matter of blind faith and trust in him and letting him guide us.
Can you tell the relationship that he and Longo have, having worked together for a couple of years at Ole Miss?
Yeah, I'll say one funny thing. You know, Coach Longo and Coach Bicknell get along great, and obviously Coach Bicknell, his emphasis the first day in was, "Hey, Coach Longo is my boss, and what he says we need to do, we need to do it." You know, and I think it's great that they had such a great relationship at Ole Miss. But a funny story I'll tell is Longo has a reputation, especially for the quarterbacks. And I used to talk to Sam or talk to Drake or Jacoby. I'd be like, "Hey man, what y'all doing?" It's like 9:30 on Thursday. I'd be like, "What are you doing?" And they're like, "Oh, we've been in meetings since like 6." Like, because Coach Longo can sit there with a clicker and go over 10 minutes on every play and talk for a while. And Coach Bicknell's the same way. He's going to look and find every little look on every single play. And sometimes we'll go through an hour and a half meeting. We're like, "Coach, it's been 4 plays." Like, it's funny. But they're very like-minded, and they're on the same page with a lot of things. And I think that that's going to help us do well.
Thanks, Brian.
Hey, Ross Martin, go ahead.
Hey, Brian, you mentioned we'll maybe be surprised with some players heading into the season. What are some young guys you think are stepping into those roles with Easy Gone and Tucker and McKeith? And what are some young guys we should know they're competing for spots?
You know, right off the bat, obviously, O-line wise, you got Zach Rice coming in, who's incredibly talented. And he's a guy that when you look at him, just in terms of being physical and being able to strain and give good effort, that's something that you typically are going to gauge how a player is right off the bat from that, whether or not he's a grinder. And, you know, he definitely is. And the technique's something that's going to come as he goes. And, you know, right now there's technically no depth chart. So we got everything's up for grabs. We got to earn everything. So sometimes he's rolling in, getting early reps against good competition against fast guys like Des Evans and Noah Taylor. And he's a guy that, you know, is holding his own and doing well. And it's only going to get better as he gets better with technique. Another thing I'll say is Travion Green is, you know, he's very big and he can move. And it's the exact same thing. He really cares about what he does. Every single optional weekend thing we had all off season, he would text me every time. He's like, "Yo, can I get a ride? Can I get a ride? Yo, can we watch some film? Can we do some extra drills?" He really cares. And it's going to be one of those things too. He's big, he's physical, he can move. And once he gets the technique down, which I don't think should take very long, I think he'll be really good.
And at the center spot with you and Corey Gaynor, how's that going in terms of y'all rotating and splitting reps and competing for that spot? And is Corey on playing any center too?
Yeah, so Corey's playing center. You know, that's one of the biggest changes for the O-line, and I think the whole offense, because obviously he comes in, and I told him the first week we have an outstanding relationship. I said, "Look, man, like, you're coming in trying to take my job. My job's not to let you take my job." And so, like, we both get that and we both respect that. And so it's a battle every single day. Obviously, once we get off the field, in about 10 minutes, we're probably about to be right next to each other in the hot tub cracking jokes. But when it's on the field, it's all business. And I mean, really for anyone on the O-line, you know, he's a guy that he's got the size to play any interior spot. But especially for me, particularly being an old guy and him being a 6-year guy, you know, there's just a lot of competition. He brings a lot to the table. He's smart, he's a grinder, and he's just a good addition. And I think especially the young guys, when they see that happening, I think it really says a lot about, okay, this is how we should be working. You know, this is the standard of what competition should be like. So I like having Corey around. He's going to be great for us.
Cool. Greg, look, you got one more?
I do, yeah. Brian, I wanted to ask you about last year. And I know you were banged up even before the season started. Was there a point where you were pretty close to pulling the plug? And if you could just kind of talk us through how difficult it was to play when you knew the team needed you, yet you were hurting.
Can you explain your definition to pull the plug?
Well, I mean, was there at any point because of your injury that you decided that you were thinking about maybe stopping for the year?
Wouldn't say that. You know, a little bit about my circumstance. We haven't talked about it a lot, but I know it's out there and on the scouts. I had an ankle operation for the season, and something where I was having some issues last spring, and you know, it didn't click as well as it should have, and you know, it took a little bit longer to recover than I would have liked. And you know, it was just very unfortunate for me, especially during those summer and fall camp workouts where, you know, there'd be times where I could see last year someone needed to step up and be a leader. And that was hard for me to try to step back and, you know, focus on being a teammate, you know, and that was a big role for me to learn how to change that. And I think that changes my perspective as a player a lot. But it was hard for me as the year went on. I never thought about, backing out and not doing it, because at the end of the day, like if I'm ever needed, I was there to step in. I'll do anything to help this team. And it was hard for me too, because I'd go in games and there'd be games I just wouldn't grade out well at all. And it's hard to see, you can't make excuses and say, oh, well, I'm hurt. Oh, well, I'm limping. No, at the end of the day, production's production. And it just wasn't where it needed to be by me or some of any other guys. But, whenever it was time for me to step in, I was always there and always willing. So I'm glad to be back healthy now and back competing and playing my best ball I've ever been playing.
Good deal. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
All right, we'll close up one more from Andrew Jones.
Hey, Brian, I know that Corey played some guard at Miami. Is he working strictly at center with you guys, or is he also working at guard? And is there a scenario where we could see maybe both you guys on the field at the same time?
So right now he's working at just center, but obviously any center knows every 5 position on the O-line. So if ever needed, he could go across. And I think, the way that's going to play out is we're going to go through the entire spring. We're going to be practicing hard and scrimmaging hard, and we're going to have the best 5 guys out there, whether it be me, him, or anyone else. And so, if it's a deal where both of us are playing great football, maybe there could be a scenario where we're playing next to each other. And that would honestly, for me, be something really cool, having another center mindset next to me, because, you'd have 2 great fields of vision, 2 great communicators. But at the end of the day, it's a battle, and I think he can fit in anywhere.
Well, thank you. Appreciate that.
Sure.
Great. Thanks, Brian. Go enjoy the hot tub.
Yeah, absolutely. Will do. Y'all have a good one.
All right. Take care.